UIC.
Freedom the people of need.
Hell yeah.
Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. The one that free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. Are you I see around the road long time GLP and PMP.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Glad to have you on. JMH, always firsting us. Good night, JMH. Glad to have you on. Tonight we're going to be talking about good governance and, well, bad governance, really, but the UIC's position on what's been happening. Let me see if I can see who else is on. Godfrey Richards, good night. Good night, Godfrey. Tonight we are going to be dealing with the effects of 78 years of bad governance from our successive governments, successive parties that have held or formed the government over 78 years, and it's gotten to a point now where, we the people just need to stand up and say, enough is enough. All right, we've seen the fruits of 78 years of bad governance. We see it in the high crime rate, we see it in the low wages, high cost of living, the bad roads, the high electricity bills, water shortage, education, teachers leaving left, right, and center. Not just teachers, but anyone that can find something outside of Jamaica, they're gone. And this is just a result of 78 years of bad governance, as I've said. Valerie Grant, good night, welcome. Desmond Murray, good to see you on. Good night, UIC family. Good night, Desmond. Sonia Mignot, big up yourself. Liddy, class is in session as usual. Cordell, glad to have you on. So tonight is a very, very topical issue. Remember, guys, to like the show, and of course, share the content. We want to be seen to as many people as possible. Subscribe, very importantly, subscribe, and of course, hit the notification bell so you will always be notified when we are going live. So as I said, tonight we're going to be dealing with bad governance and looking at how will we replace that with good governance. And before we get to that, I just want to play a video for you. So last year, September 22, the UIC staged a walk for liberty. We all know what was happening last year around this time. The government wanted to mandate the joke, and we, the UIC, said that can't work. We own our bodies. You can't tell us what to do and what not to do with our bodies. It should not be that you're forcing us to take something in our bodies. You should be giving us the information and giving us the opportunity for us to make the choice whether we're going to take that substance or not. And so we rallied around Mr. Patterson. We went to downtown. We started a walk from, I think it was Ward Theatre to Gordon House. And, you know, that was an important part in UIC history, I believe. A lot of people, you know, saw the UIC from that. There are a lot of people that, you know, really were thinking the same things the UIC was thinking, but didn't have a voice or didn't have an outlet to share their disgust or disapproval. And so, you know, a lot of people were really in harmony with the UIC's position. We're gonna have a special guest on our live as well. His name is Rashid Dono. He is a very excited UIC supporter, and so we'll hear more from him later on. But before we go there, just gonna play for you the video. Let's see if I can get it up here. All right. So while that is, oh wow, video isn't available anymore. Okay, so I guess we won't have that video. Godfrey Richards says, so true, cool guy, hail my uniters. Craig McKenzie says, Jamaica, it is time for change, definitely. Liddy Williams, my body, my choice. We agree with you, Liddy. So the video that we were going to play for you this evening is all of a sudden no longer available, which is very weird. Let me see if I can, there's another way to get it. Let's see. Bear with me here, people. Yes, it's saying no longer available. Wow. Let me see if I can. All right, so this is a very important video. I want you guys to see this video. So I'm really trying to see if I can find, oh, so let me say it's not available. Okay. All right. All right, guys, so I finally found the video. So I'm going to share now. All right.
And the head of the United Independence Congress of Jamaica, UIC, Joseph Patterson, was arrested this morning for multiple breaches of the Disaster Risk Management Act.
Placed in handcuffs and taken away by the police. President of Jamaica's third political party, the UIC, Joseph Patterson, as he prepared to lead a group of anti-COVID protocol protesters to Gordon House. The march, a continuation of a series of gatherings in several parishes, was planned days in advance. The police issued warnings, including on social media, that any such gathering would be illegal. On Tuesday, a defiant Patterson issued this statement.
I can assure you that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I will be present at Ward Theatre for our march on Garden House.
And so Wednesday morning, in the midst of a crowd of followers, he and 5 others were taken into custody for, among other things, organizing a group of more than 10 persons, which breaches the Disaster Risk Management Act.
The other offense that we have arrested them for is under reasonable suspicion of carrying out the act of disrupting the activities of Parliament as uttered by the leader, Mr. Patterson, in presence, after warning him about the offenses that they are going to march on Parliament and to disrupt the activities there.
But after his arrest, things got disruptive quickly. The crowd followed the arrested Mr. Patterson to the Central Kingston Police Station, demanding his release and insisting their gathering was legal and justified. Their reluctance to go back several meters from the station resulted in pushing and shoving, the cops doubling down with pepper spray and a SWAT team.
We need the curfew to stop. We need the lockdowns to stop because it not benefit nobody. Nobody but the private sector, nobody but the government. Since what the ship them come in. And them lock all of the tourists them from people. So we need all of that to stop right now.
They started using their sticks and they started using brute force. When I seen them push an old lady, I said that's wrong and it's morally wrong. We're obeying what you guys are saying. Then they come out with the pepper spray and they pepper spray all of us.
We're out here in our numbers in support of freedom of choice. Mr. Patterson is demanding freedom, and we are saying no to mandatory vaccination. It should not be a case where it's take a job or lose your job.
Up to news time, it was unclear if those arrested were still in lockup or out on bail. The group's main issue has been the COVID-19 vaccine. So we asked them about the proven benefits in the COVID-19 fight.
You see how many people are in hospital and how many people are dying. And the vaccine is something that can stop you from dying or even less likely for you to be hospitalized. So why are you guys so against?
Where's your scientific knowledge?
There's no proof.
But health officials have been insisting that the unvaccinated are more likely to be hospitalized and die from COVID-19.
And our coverage of that anti-vaccine protest in downtown Kingston today was not without drama. Our news team also had a brief standoff with police personnel who were adamant that they had to leave the area.
Questions about freedom of the press are again being raised as while covering Wednesday morning's protest in downtown Kingston, the news team and other media workers were almost forcibly removed from the area by the police. While recording, a baton was used to shove our videographer and reporter out of the area. Despite clearly branded media IDs, equipment, and shirt, some officers sought to remove both journalists and protesters. In addition to being pushed, our videographer also complained of being pepper sprayed. The team tried to talk with senior members of the JCF, hoping to be allowed to continue doing their work.
But I wasn't.
He was pushing me in the road.
Yes, and I can't. Yes, but I'm not agreeing to that. I am saying to you that me intervening, some officers intervening, is to ensure that everything goes peacefully.
I am not aware of that. If you, all right, if you so want to make a report on that, I will facilitate that.
All right, so we saw two videos basically. The first video was really focused on the march. And, you know, it's really interesting how the police, the police is just ready to manhandle anyone, you know, brute force. Here we have a peaceful demonstration. Nobody was, you know, tearing down signs or causing a ruckus, you know. A peaceful demonstration, and the police decides to arrest Mr. Patterson and I think 4 other young people. The question is, why didn't the police arrest all 500 people that were there? You know, why is it that they sought to arrest Mr. Patterson and then 4 others that, you know, really couldn't defend themselves? It's really a shame that our police force is really a force. And, you know, one of the UIC's proposals is to change that from a police force to a police service, where we're teaching or we're we're helping our police to understand that they are there to serve our citizens. But you know, we saw where, you know, the whole ruckus, and this is part of the theater that you know, it's good for TV, and so they like the, you know, they like the pushing and the shoving, and they like the drama, right? So you know, we have something to present on news. If you listen carefully, they said, you know, anti-vax protest, and the protest wasn't an anti-vax protest. You know, the protest was about freedom of choice. So it was a big deal last year, and still is a big deal. A lot of people saw the UIC from a different perspective and a different light. A lot of people were actually introduced to the UIC from that march. And it really helped to Jamaica to really, well, some Jamaicans to really wake up to what's happening, what's really happening here. You know, a lot of stuff has been happening throughout the, you know, the last year and a half, 2 years. And, you know, we've been subjected to certain kinds of activities and movements, or lack of movement. And, you know, it's almost like some people woke up and said, you know, really and truly, this is not, this is not right, you know? So that was the first video. And in the second video, we saw how, I mean, even the media was being attacked by the police. And these are people that had nothing to do with the protest at all. They were just there to cover what was happening. And they themselves came under the brute force of the police that's supposed to be there to you know, to again, serve, protect and serve our citizens. Really sad. And I don't know how many of you guys were actually at the march. Drop in the comments if you were, or drop in the comments if you actually heard about the UIC from the march, or because of the march you heard about the UIC. But it's really a shame. It really showed up the government. And as it is now, Mr. Patterson is to go to court on September 9th, which is Friday coming, to answer to, you know, one of the other charges that has been laid on him because of our walk in Mandeville. So we had several different walks around the island, and so he will be in Mandeville at the Mandeville court on Friday. And for those of you that are here in Jamaica, we would ask that if you can come and show your, you know, support, we would appreciate that. And if you can't come, you know, you can donate to help us. But right now I'm going to bring on Mr. Patterson to talk about, you know, the background, some more of the background to the march, and, you know, the proceedings since the march. And then we'll also bring in Rashid, the owner, when that time comes. Mr. Patterson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Harper. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, glad to have you on. So we just saw the video of you being arrested, and how the police was treating you and others. What was, you know, going through your mind at the time of this whole ordeal?
You know, everything happened so fast. I mean, I was very resolute and very determined that we were not going to have a mandated injection. And I was very determined that the lockdowns should not continue, because I saw the suffering all around me. I saw businesses, you know, closing. I saw people who depended on, you know, hustling, losing their opportunities to take care of their families. And it was really very difficult. And I know that where we're heading to was not a good place. I know that the end goal, and it still is. I mean, a lot of people may think that this is over, but it's really just a calm before the next big storm hits. And they're trying to program us right now to, you know, kind of get us comfortable, and then we're going to be hit big. So unfortunately, I mean, I must admit, it appears as if they're kind of winning because the people are beginning to get relaxed and thinking it's over, but it's not. But at the time, I was only focused on making sure it didn't happen. That was fully in my mind. I wanted to make sure that if there's one country on earth that did not go that way, it was Jamaica. And I know that if we did not step in, they would have done it, and many Jamaicans would have been injected very early in the process. As a result of our intervention at the time, we spared about 80% of the country from getting the injection, which is a huge success if you think about it, for us to stop them. Other countries were already at 60, 70%. And up to the end of last year, we were still around the 20% mark. They're still going ahead, and they're gradually using all kinds of tactics to win. The UIC lost its footing because of our internal squabbles, which derailed us from staying focused and resolute on the issue. So Jamaica lost out from that distraction, but we still haven't gotten to the high numbers yet where they get 50-60% of the country. So all is not lost. And since then, we have seen a lot of information as well that makes it clear to more people that the UIC was right all along. Our analysis was perfect. Our timing was right. Our decision was the right decision. And it's unfortunate that, some within the police ranks allowed themselves to be politically manipulated to pursue an agenda that they should not pursue. And if they pursued it, they should have arrested everybody, because all 500 of us would have broken the law. So, why pick out 5 people, particularly 3 children? They picked on 3 young people. They knew, it was just a token. The real person they wanted was me. And, they pursued that direction. But my mind was totally focused on stopping the agenda. And, even when they arrested me, I must say I didn't have any fear. It's a strange thing, but I didn't feel any fear. I was disgusted, especially when they took me into custody and I saw their behavior, how, some police were mocking. They were so disinterested and unaware of what they were doing. They were just a part of a whole culture of hating the Jamaican people for their rights and mocking the people. They mocked my wife, they mocked me. They were so derogatory. And they gave me a different perspective on police. We have some people in uniform who unfortunately are being in uniform.
Yeah. And so you carried the government to court.
Yeah. So after they charged me with breaking the Public Order Act and breaking the DRMA, we counter-claimed. So we went to the Supreme Court and lodged a lawsuit, if you will, against the government that they breached our constitutional right, so to speak. I hate to even say the word constitutional right, but it is what it is. But they breached our right to freedom of expression, freedom of movement, and freedom of association. And so we now have a case before the Supreme Court, which has to be heard and a decision reached on before they can complete the trials before the other courts. Because I do have 2 cases, one before the Halfway Tree Court for the same charges, and another one before the Mandeville Court for the same charges. Which is interesting. In Mandeville, I was not arrested on the day in Mandeville, which was the week before we went to Kingston. I was not arrested, but they brought an arrest warrant in Kingston for me on the day. So it was really quite planned. And in Mandeville, what is interesting is when I did the Mandeville Walk for Liberty, and the then superintendent gave us permission to continue. He said it was okay. He said, he spoke to us and said, you guys, you're not going to do anything like destroying your property or whatever. And we're talking, and a good talk. And said, no, nothing like that and whatever. And they asked us how long we're going to be there, where we're going, and we told them everything because we're normally quite cooperative with the police. And we did everything we needed to do, and we left peacefully. There was no issues. We had a really good turnout in Mandeville. I mean, the people were really excited. We were in the square. You had the market people, you had the taxi drivers, you had people going about their business. So they stopped, and we had, we really got into it. And again, I was arrested in Kingston for Mandeville as well as for Kingston. And they left all the 100 and odd people in Mandeville. No one was arrested. And the 500 people in Kingston, myself and some children were arrested. And subsequent to that, we have seen several demonstrations. Even the police demonstrated for their back wages, and they violated what they call a scheduled area. They walked up to the Supreme Court, which is a scheduled area. They should not have been allowed to go into this space because we were going into what they call a scheduled area, which is we're just going to Parliament to deliver a letter. And they said it's a scheduled area. We're not allowed to go up there. But the police, the Police Federation, they went right up to the steps of the Supreme Court and protested, and nobody arrested them. Now, that's what you call bad governance. When you have good governance, you have the laws, objective laws, and they're applied to everybody objectively, regardless of whether you are an ordinary citizen, as you may say, or a police or a politician. And you saw where one politician had a grand time on No Movement Day, and he got a promotion to the Prime Minister's office as a result of breaking their own rules.
Yeah, ridiculous. So I would love to bring on Rashid Downer now. Let's see if I can get him on. Rashid.
Here he is. Well, he's not in frame, but I see you have somebody else on the live as well.
Mark.
Hello.
Hello, Mark.
Yeah, man. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, You're talking to my president.
Oh, you want to talk to me? Patterson.
Hello, Mark. I'm here. How are you?
I'm doing good, I'm just listening and assessing a lot of things. What is going on?
Yeah, wonderful. Is this Mark Mitchell?
Yeah, man. It is Mark Mitchell.
Okay, wonderful. Were you at the march on September 22nd?
Yeah, man. I was at the march. The march. You know that we were at the march.
Excellent.
The entire team was at the march.
Yes. And
so
thank you so much for... Go ahead, Douglas. Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to get Mark's perspective on the day. How did you feel about what happened last year, March, September 22nd?
It was horrible. It was very horrible. I didn't like how the government, the police, treated Mr. Patterson at all. I didn't like it. And, for the people of Jamaica, we are trying to fight for our rights. And we never get the chance. Them deal with the thing away. It was unbearable.
Yeah.
It was unthinkable. I was saying.
So you were there from the start of the march?
It was horrible.
Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, so you were there from the start of the march?
Yeah, man, I was there.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier that we were there. So you were there with others. How many came with you?
I was there with my wife and her mom and her sisters. Then we were there.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for Mr. Patterson? Or you just wanted to hail him up?
Well, the only thing I would say to Mr. Patterson, let knock them dead.
And will you be at the September 22 march this year?
I will definitely be there. Definitely, because I am a UIC as well too.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, man. Mark is a big time supporter of the UIC. He has been supporting the UIC since the beginning. As far as since that last year, he has been actively engaged, and before that, I know, and his wife as well was actively engaged. and mother-in-law, and many others. So thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate you. So looking forward to see you on the 22nd. And, bring an army with you. Bring 5, 10, 15, 20 people or 100.
If I can bring the city with me, I will carry the city with me.
All right. So you take care now. All the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Respect. Okay.
All right. Still not seeing.
I'm still not seeing Mr. Downer. Yeah.
So this program is about good governance. We've seen for the results of 78 years of bad governance. Like, what is your take on the last 78 years, Mr. Patterson?
Sure. Well, let me, if you don't mind, I want to kind of back up a little bit and ask ourselves, what is good governance? Because, we talk freely about governance from time to time, and sometimes we assume that everybody knows what we're talking about. It's a term we use and we kind of have a feeling for what it means. But what does good governance really mean? If you were to watch any video on the subject or check a textbook or so on, you might hear a number of things. They might tell you something about decision making and stakeholders and institutions and all kind of stuff. And it might be a bit convoluted. So tonight I want to demystify it for everyone and keep it quite simple and straightforward. To define what good governance is, you want to start with what is governance. Governance is a set of rules and institutions designed to prescribe the rights, relationships, and responsibilities of those affected. In other words, it's the rule of the game, the rules of the game. So let's say you're playing soccer. Soccer has rules. It tells you how many players can be on either side, the role of the umpire, what size ball you're going to use, what size goal you're going to use, the area of the football field, the markings are on it to tell you when you're onside and offside, where's the center, where's the left wing, right wing, and so on. So the same thing applies when you are setting up an organization. A club, for example, needs to have rules about governance. How will we govern ourselves as a club? A community, a town, a city, a country, a world need to have rules, the rules of engagement and how we're going to relate to each other, who are the different players, what are your rights, what are your responsibilities. Now, good governance is an efficient and effective system of governance where the rules of life and institutions are designed to equally protect the rights of all affected while holding each person accountable for their areas of responsibilities. So when you have good governance, you have a system that is very clear about the rules of how we're going to deal with each other. And those rules must be such that they hold everybody accountable equally. Now, bad governance is where the system is not designed to be efficient or effective. It fails to protect the rights of everyone equally. It does not treat everyone as equal under the law. It does not hold everyone accountable for their responsibilities. Now, if you were to take each of what I just said, that would be Jamaica. Jamaica is a very inefficient place. I was just talking to a friend of mine earlier today by WhatsApp. He's here visiting from overseas. And he's saying, oh my God, it's so hard to do business in Jamaica. Everything is so hard. And he ended by saying, but, I still love my country. He wanted to come back home. And I understand. I mean, we all feel the same way. We love Jamaica. We want to be a part of Jamaica. But we're wondering, why is it that everything has to be so difficult here? And things are so difficult here because of bad governance, because the system is not designed to be efficient and effective, where the rules of engagement are designed to protect the rights of all of us equally, while holding all of us equally accountable for our areas of responsibilities. So you know you have good governance when you have objective laws that apply equally to everyone in a transparent way that protects the right of everyone to their life, liberty, and property. So let me turn the table on you, Mr. Harper. What do you see in Jamaica? Good governance or bad governance based on my description?
Definitely bad governance. Definitely a system that's set up to fail, set up for us to fail. Yeah, bad governance.
Yeah. So so you know you have good governance when you have objective laws and when they're being applied equally and when everyone in a transparent way knows that their rights are being protected. Now, good governance does not permit anyone or any group or government to initiate force or violence or use fraud to get their way. So if you want to know if a country is following the principles of good governance, you can look to see, does government has the right to initiate force? Now, I want you to understand the difference between two types of force. There is unprovoked force, where somebody initiates force, and then there is retaliatory force. This is where you are retaliating. Somebody is using force against you, and then you're retaliating. So in good governance, you're not permitted, no one, not even the government, is permitted to use or initiate force. And when we talk about force, we equate that word with violence. So no one is allowed to use violence or force to get their way. No one is allowed to use fraud, coercion, trickery, deception to get their way. That's when you have good governance. Now, if you notice, we have a government which is always keen to use force. Everything is about just going in and just doing things. They don't care about the rights of the people they're going to demolish in doing so. And it scares the hell out of me, because Jamaica is a relatively mild country compared to some of the dictatorships the world have seen. But we have a tendency, especially in the current leader, to edge more towards going the dictatorship route. And the worse they make Jamaica, I remember when he just started to bring in the states of emergencies, the SOEs and the ZOZOs and so on. When he just started to bring that in, I remember many Jamaicans were saying, yes, it's a good idea. And he was calling states of emergencies left, right, and center. Now, states of emergency should never be used willy-nilly. When you call a state of emergency, it must be because there's something really, really very big and very bad happening. Now, when it comes on to crime in Jamaica, while the numbers are high, the problem is not that we don't have a state of emergency. The problem is that we don't have good governance. So the Prime Minister uses the path of taking away our rights to tell he's going to fix our rights. Because our right is to be in a safe society, a clean society, an orderly society. But for him to give us our rights, he needs to take away our rights. And that's always his approach. But good governance does not support this. Force must only be retaliatory. That is used only in self-defense or to defend others from those who are initiating force against them. So when you have good governance, the government's role is to protect us from each other. So if any one of us want to use force or fraud against the other person, the government has the responsibility to prevent that or prosecute that, right? But it itself doesn't have the right to initiate force against us just because it believes it knows what is best for us. So in the case of a so-called pandemic, the role of the government would be to educate the citizens, inform the citizens, provide any emergency supplies to the citizens that are not available because of whatever reasons. But its role is not to take away the right of the citizen to choose, for example, their medication, or to choose if they want to open their business, or to choose if they want to sell something, or to choose if they want to associate. So you don't take away the rights of people to go to church, or to go to work, or to open their business, or to keep operating their farms. Your job as government is to educate the people, inform the people, empower the people, not force the people.
So, Mr. Patterson, would you say that the government now, do they understand this, or is it that they just see it from one perspective or one side of, we are the rulers, we tell you what to do? Or is it, I mean, I can't see how a government can, we were voted in, right? We were voted in, and so now we're going to tell you what to do because you voted us in. It's not, here's the information, here is, here are the two sides to the story, or two sides to whatever. You do, based on, we're going to give you some parameters, and you do what you will with this information. How is it that the government just doesn't see that as an option? Why is it always,
I think the reason for that, Douglas, is that the government we have today is an offshoot of the colonial system, the master slave system. So they haven't really graduated from that. Even though they appeal to us for our votes, they really don't see us as their master or their employer. They see us as their servant. They only have to placate us during election time with some music, with some food, with some giveaways, with some niceties, and then they now, okay, we're back to normal now. We are the masters and you are the servants. So do over with it. You understand? So they don't have the understanding I'm trying to explain to you, because nor do they want that. Because for the most part, those in our government love the idea of being lord and governors over their fellow men. They love the idea of being in charge. They love the idea of being demagogues. They relish the position that their colonial masters had when they were in charge over all of this black masses, and they were masters and they could crack the whip. They still relish that, and that's why they retain a lot of things. They retain most honorable titles. They retain wearing wigs inside of the place. They retain, Victorian mazes. They retain as much as possible, and that is why, if you notice, when I hate the word, when they invite so-called royals to our country, or the royals invite themselves, you see their behavior. They worship these people. They see these people as their superior. They're gods. They worship their systems. They think that the only system of governance that is good for Jamaica is the one that the white man created in Europe and give to us. The best form of education system is the one that the white man created and gives to us. They're not prepared to think outside of the box. And don't get me wrong, I am not opposed to the white man. I'm opposed to the black man who's stupid. You understand? The white man is doing his job. I mean, in fact, I have a great degree of respect for the white man. I don't hate the white man. I am not one of those Pan-Africanists, for example, who, I have hate and I'm like, I want to get rid of it. No. I admire them for being able to turn an entire race of people into idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they able to do that? How are they able to go to a continent the size of Africa and completely demolish and carve it up and get us to even hate ourselves?
Yeah.
We're bleaching our skins to get rid of our color. Their version of beauty is what we look up to, and we don't like what we look like. We don't like our lips. We don't like our nose. We don't like our ears. We don't like our hair. We don't like nothing about ourselves. Now, for a race to be able to do that to another race, you want to go and understand. You want to really understand, how are they so powerful? And you want to take responsibility. I take responsibility for my race. I'm not here to hate the other race. I'm here to say to my race, let us do better. Let us learn how to govern ourselves properly. Let us learn how to bring out the best in ourselves effectively. Let us master how to build industries and technologies and solutions that are superior to others, which is why the UIC designed the governance model that we call a non-partisan constitutional republic, which is different from all other countries. Yes, there are similarities, but if you look at the granular elements, you see that we have built some significantly advanced process of checks and balances that would rival any other system in the world. And that's what I want for Jamaica. I want all of us to put on our thinking cap, stop being average or less than average, stop being subservient to any master, whether that master is a black man or a white man or an Indian or a Chinese. Don't accept any masters. See yourself as equal. See yourself as a sovereign individual with the same degree of royalty or sovereignty as anybody else. And with that mindset, it's very easy to dismiss the so-called Queen of England, very easy to dismiss the Governor General, very easy to dismiss the system of governance that they have over us, very easy to finally assert your right as a human being with the same rights as any other human being to life, to liberty, and to own and enjoy your own property.
Having said all of that, Mr. Patterson, how do we get the Jamaican people to see this? Because many of them are blinded by, the politics and blinded by everything that's happening. How do we get them to see that we the people really have the power?
Mm-hmm. Well, the truth is they're only blinded by the PSOJ. Because the truth is, if the Jamaican people heard what I'm saying right now and what I've been saying for the last several years, they would all have changed already. The only reason why the people haven't changed yet is because the PSOJ controls the microphone and the money that pays for it, right? So the PSOJ controls the media. Now, if the Jamaican people were waking up every morning to 1 minute of the UIC on their television station, just 1 minute, and 1 minute of the UIC on their radio station, and a quarter page of the Gleaner and a quarter page of the Observer, if that was happening right now for the last 2 years, 3 years, right now, the two colonial parties would have absolutely no hope in the next election. The only way they can win the next election is by making sure that the Jamaican people on a mass basis does not hear the UIC. You see, the UIC is not a Andre Stevens, for example. We're not here for showbiz, where it's showbiz and it appeals to our love of entertainment and something that is kind of gossipy, kind of soapy. That's the base level they have brought us to, and that if you put out a channel and you start to do that, you'll get 30,000 subscribers very easily. The UIC has to work harder because we are the education party. So we have for you to get the attention of a typical Jamaican to come to the UIC, that person there have to have a special mind already. You understand? You're not going to reach the ordinary Jamaican that is either too busy with eking out a subsistent living or living it up in the world of excitement and enjoyment and whatever, and just trying to drown out his sorrows, or looking for a gossip session or a soap opera session. That's where most of the base minds are. And so they'll quickly gravitate to that. No, it doesn't mean the person isn't talking some truth in them, but it's more the flair and all of the drama and theatrics at it, and people love that, so they move to that. So the UIC has to work harder to get through because we're not here sitting or just talking off our head. Also, we're responsible. We're an organization. We're not just one man saying anything you feel like every morning. We have to be accountable and responsible for what we say. So take, for example, the Donnelly situation the other day. The UIC couldn't just jump out and start to say anything and make any accusations and cast any aspersions. We have to know that we must be responsible. We need to make sure, has the police failed to do their job? Did they do anything different from the way they dealt with other? And we have to wait for that evidence to come forward. And we saw nothing where the police did anything different than in the past. So we have to be careful about how we now start to, label the police or label anybody, and give it some time, and then you see things come out. Now, it doesn't mean we don't respect, for example, rights of protest. So people can protest if they wish, and that is fine. Now, we wouldn't just align ourselves with a protest without understanding what are the merits, what is it you're protesting about really and truly. Do we really have a case here? Have we seen where it's clear evidence that the police is covering something else? Yes, somebody might say the police is covering something up, but have we seen clear evidence of that? We as a movement, as a political party, as an organization that is responsible, that has legitimate responsibilities for a group of people and a government in waiting, we can't just be willy-nilly in how we jump on everything. For example, just go and push yourself up into somebody's funeral and say, I'm going to just barge in and be a part of a funeral. We can't do that. Well, at least I wouldn't subscribe to that personally. I believe that, if there's a funeral happening, the family has to say would like for you to attend. We don't just go and show up at the family's. I wouldn't do that. So things like these are an impediment to the UIC because sometimes persons understand how all the pieces fit together. But I see the chairman is here. You want to let him in and hear what he has to say?
Yes, definitely. Let's see. Chairman, Mr. Winston Wright, are you there? Okay. Not hearing anything from him. All right, we'll see if we can come back to him. Rashid is here now. Let's see if we can. Oh, wait, there's Mr. Hello, Mr. Wright.
Let's bring in Rashid as well, because he has been waiting so long.
Yes. All right, glad to have you guys on. Rashid Dona and Winston Wright, UIC chairman. I was going to ask Winston what was his perspective on the march last year.
When I drove to Kingston from Westmoreland, and it was myself alone driving up, and the drive was a lot of time to reflect and think about where things were. And getting into Kingston, you didn't know what to expect. We know that something was gonna happen, we just didn't know what. And when I got there, things were already in play. And I'm trying to be candid with my words. And the energy was tremendous. Persons who you wouldn't expect to support the movement were there showing support. And I won't say any more than that. At least I'll try not to say any more than that. There are persons that the plantocracy thought were on their side. That was not on their side that day. There are persons that the plantocracy expected to act a certain way that did not act as expected that day, because they saw what our president was doing was for their betterment and the betterment of all Jamaica. And when the president was victimized, the crowd got very upset to the point where they wanted to react in a very violent way. And that threat of violence extended to the community around the precinct where the president was being held, where people were coming out of the lanes and saying, no, this can't happen, we could do something. And they weren't just saying it, they were willing to do it. And I saw Muslims, Christians, Rastafarians, bald heads. I saw every representation of the Jamaican lifestyle stood up that day and championed a cause. Yes, we would have failed to protect our president. but the powers that be had their plans and they knew what they were planning. And when the screams went out that day, when the president was manhandled and, you know, roughed up and tucked into a police vehicle, I heard women scream at the top of their lungs, "No, you can't do this." I saw people throw themselves in front of the vehicle and were manhandled by the police just the same, saying, "No, you can't do this." I saw Rastafarians chanting fire. Long and short of it is that for that one occurrence, I saw Jamaica as it should be, a unified place. And if the president could have united us for that brief moment, imagine if the UIC breaks through the political establishment, how unified we will be, can be around the idea of freedom. So that day was bittersweet for me because it showed the possibilities. It also showed the depth that the plantocracy will sink to maintain the status quo. That day was memorable for me because I get to tell my kids that I saw where change broke through, because for a lot of people, that's when they realize the potential of a change. That's that day was when they realize the potential of a change. One person, one man can stand up and change the entire course of the national discourse. So people saw the real potential of a change that day. So even to this very moment, etched in my memory, indelibly, is that whole plethora of emotions of the good and the bad, the positive and the negative surrounding that day, where the Muslims came to the station to show support to the president, where the Christians, where the Rastafarians, where the bad man and the hard-working man all came because of one message: choice, freedom, unity. So I'm sure I said more than you wanted, but
no man, we love it, we love it. Actually, I had goosebumps while you were talking because, I mean, as you said, just in that one moment in time, it's like Jamaicans realized what was up against them and they united, you know. And as you said, this is something that the UIC wants to create, you know. We want Jamaica to be united. We want, you know, the Muslims and the Christians and the Rastafarians to be able to live amongst each other. We want the uptown and the downtown to be living amongst each other. We want, you know, the darker skin and the lighter skin. We all come together, you know. Even JLP and PNP, we all come together. And just in that moment, we saw what Jamaica could have been or could be.
Definitely, definitely. So that day was, you know, it was the longest I was ever on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot more lessons in that day because I could go further. Because I also saw a woman that was totally dedicated to the welfare of her partner. A woman that was totally behind, totally caring, that was there through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
Not like I've ever seen before. That inspired me personally. You understand? I saw the First Lady went through a whole range of emotion, waiting to understand what happened to the president. You understand? I saw the love and respect and admiration that she has for him on display. I saw people who didn't know him that wanted to stand up for him, but despite the fact they were in a difficult situation, they were willing to stand up. And through the great divide that exists in Jamaica. I'll tell you a story. When they dragged him behind those metal doors at Central and slammed them shut and heavily armed riot police positioned at different ends of the street and different vantage, and they start to spread this horrible lie that UIC is coming to storm the place. You know, they were officers, and I do mean officers of the force, who wanted to deploy force against the people without any provocation. Any provocation. Within a moment of that happening, they're ready to deploy force against the people. They even pepper sprayed and manhandled an old woman. And when the Rastafarians intervened, they manhandled them, and they ended up pepper spraying another one of, and this person and the president. Well, I shouldn't say the president. This person don't believe in the president's philosophy, but he was there defending freedom on that day, and he was pepper sprayed in melee. Right? But you had officers of gazetted rank. I said, no man, hold on. They were literally holding back from what their superiors were trying to incite in them. Right? And they were willing to say, okay, he's in this office, hold on. They wanted the president to be okay. But they couldn't act that way because they're a superior officer. That's why I know how politicized the gazetted ranks are. That's when I became convinced of it. Because these persons who favor it may not be physical, it may be tokenism, but they are willing to act at the behest, at the whim of these persons without focusing on the humanities. But those officers down there in the trenches, they didn't forget their humanity on that day, which I'm grateful for. I mean, not all of them were students, and some of them eventually acted in ways that they shouldn't have. But again, there was a lot on display that day. A lot. And not to mention the president's speech in front of me is the statue of Simon Bolivar, known freedom fighter, was epic, was profound, as usual, as expected. I mean, we've all come to expect very prophetic words from the president. But in that place and at that time, it appealed to everyone. Because when the Muslims took the microphone, they could only say they agree. When the Rastafarians took the microphone, they could only say they agree. And the chants, even though we were a horde, but we were a significant crowd. So, you know, we all were just there to be in the moment, be united for the work.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. I'm going to bring in Mr. Downer now. Were you at the march last year?
Well, not physically, but spiritually, yes.
Okay.
I was watching online as there was live coverage. You know, it was something that I was slightly expecting, as you know, if I am something like of a youth in UIC, I'd have to say. So I heard about the thing that happened in I think it was the march in, I think it was one of those parties. Not sure. I don't want to misquote anything. If Mr. Patterson could help me, it was a march in Montego Bay, I think. Was it?
Or maybe Mandeville?
Yes, Mandeville. The march in Mandeville. Yes, that's correct. The march in Mandeville. I had heard about that, so I had expected that, you know, if something didn't happen there, something is going to happen at the Kingston launch, because it was more bigger and it was planned to the T, where, you know, we the Jamaicans, the youth especially, and the older folks are going to go out there and give the government exactly what we are feeling as Jamaicans. So to me, it was a good idea, but the government had their different agenda as usual. But personally, that day, myself seeing Mr. Patterson, who's a strong mentor to me, being arrested, it was an emotional roller coaster. It was something that I didn't expect to see, because I look up to him like to the T, you know. So it was something that I didn't really like to see, and I saw the videos. I saw where the police was practically brutalizing Jamaican citizens. And one thing that I know, that it is a right of freedom of speech and to protest if it is the case. there's nothing in the Jamaican law that objectifies it, per se, saying that we don't, or amendment rights of freedom of speech and freedom to protest should be disrupted. So I do think the government should pay for this because number one, it is our right. Number two, it is constitutionally upheld that we have this right to do. So I think the government should take full responsibility of shutting down something that, one, it was super peaceful. I was there watching and I saw that it was super peaceful firstly before the police came in and started brutalizing. It was the truth, you know. As a young person, I was being forced to take the vaccine, one, to go back to school, and two, to participate in track and field events. So, yeah, that's all for me, actually.
All right. Well, thanks for your input. Mr. Patterson, you were talking earlier about, bad governance. What policies or what's the UIC's position on good governance?
Mm-hmm. Well, we are, you could say we are Puritans, meaning we want truly good governance. We don't want a fake version of it. We don't want a pretense at good governance. And Jamaica has never had good governance. If you go back to the time of slavery, what was that? You had some people having more rights than others. And what we have today is similar, except that the extent of the slavery is less physically brutalizing. It is more of a covert nature. So for example, in the Jamaica today, people are wage slaves. In the Jamaica today, many persons are marginalized by the quality of the education that they receive. You remember in slavery, if you want to keep slaves in check, you make sure that they are uneducated. You make sure that they are fearful, and you make sure that they are poor. So if you have people who are uneducated, poor, and fearful, you can control them better. And the government of Jamaica, since it has fallen into the hands of people who look like us or somewhat look like us and share our space and say that they're one of us, what have they done? So from 1944, we had self-governance. And in 1962, we had full independence. What have they done with that period from then until now? Our school system continues to fail more than 70% of our students. What does that mean? It means that you're creating citizens who lack the capacity to properly engage in the system of governance to hold our politicians truly accountable. You can fool them up. You can tell them anything at election time and fool them up. You can promise them a tax benefit that doesn't make sense and fool them up. You can promise them free this and free that and fool them up because they're not at the intellectual capacity to be able to get involved and ask the right questions and say, no, no bother with that. And so they use our education system to produce citizens who are less than. They also maintain a healthcare system that for the most part treats the majority of Jamaicans like animals. The lack of respect, the lack of customer service, the lack of equipment and supplies, the lack of health education at a level that will build up our people. So that is there. They also run an economy which marginalizes the small man and give precedence and greater access and greater state-sponsored support to those who have money. So for example, you have foreigners coming into our country who are given tax breaks and tax credits that are not available to local Jamaicans. So what are you doing? You're making sure that you strengthen the foreigner and weaken your own citizen. Now, if you had good governance, they could never do that because the people would never stand for it and they would understand it. Just today, I had to answer a tax question for one of my clients. And when I go through the list of taxes that we pay, the various government fees and duties and all these things that are meant to oppress the people, because only those who can afford big tax lawyers and big tax accountants and the best advice they can navigate the system and use those things to suppress their competition. You understand? So when you have good governance, you have a country that empowers the smallest among us to become great. You have a system that ensures that the legal structure is such that no matter how poor you are, you have access to the justice system in a way that puts you on par with the richest person. So you're not disadvantaged because you are poor. So for me, good governance only exists when the smallest minority in our nation is protected. Just recently, I was attacked by one of our former members and former candidates, and he called the UIC a fraud. And he called it a fraud because he wants me to say that when the UIC comes to government, we're going to give everybody a piece of land for free. He wants me to say that. He wants me to just say we're just going to give everybody a piece of land for free. He wants me to say that water will be for free. He says, if you say these things, people will vote for the UIC. I said, absolutely not. We're not here to feed the people pie in the sky. We're here to explain to the people how we're going to craft a country that will be both equitable, just, and fair, and at the same time be pragmatic, reasonable, rational, and something we can actually deliver on. So for me, good governance will entail making sure that we have a safe Jamaica, first and foremost. Without safety, nothing else matters. When a person isn't safe, they can't feel comfortable to do anything else. So safety is important. Next, you need a clean environment. When you have a clean environment, that it's empowering. And by clean, I mean both clean in terms of appearance and clean in terms of lacking in corruption. So corruption is eliminated. And you want an orderly environment. You want an environment that allows you to easily move from one part of the country to the other, efficiently negotiate with other people in trade and in dealing with the government. If you have those basic things in place, you have the prerequisite for a very prosperous nation. And then when you move beyond that, what kind of economy do you want to have? The UIC believes in an economy where we trade value for value, where government doesn't seek to limit your access to different industries, where government doesn't give gatekeepers the power to lock out some people and let some people through, but rather the government is there as a facilitator for everyone equally, without fear or favor, without any form of prejudice, without any form of government seeking to pick winners and losers, but rather allowing the people to make their own choices in their own way, so long as they're not using force or fraud to violate the life, liberty, or property rights of anybody else.
Yeah. A comment here. I lost it. All right, I lost the comment. All right, Mr. Wright, anything to add to that?
You see, firstly, successive administrations have been promising for many decades to give ministers a job description. That doesn't happen. You know why? Simple reason is that you're not performing in your true capacity. In any business that you're performing in your true role, that role will be defined for you. What you can do, what you cannot do, what is your span of control, what is your responsibility. That has not been done because our ministers aren't performing in their true role. The system is artificially used and propped up. So they go there to give advantage to others, to act as if to back others, create a process that is prohibitive and inhibitive of anyone to bring competition to the black community. Simply that. What the president has proposed as the fundamental principle of the US is there limitations for everyone excel once you're willing to go to the. We need to get away from this mentality where they have tricked us. Once they say free, we run. There's nothing free. There's really is that energy cannot be created or destroyed or transformed from one form to another. Energy is that one our civilization, whether it be money, whatever it is, will not be free. It has to be one value transformed from one to the other. If you are getting something, you are giving something. We need to understand that. And we really need to work with and understand that anybody that offers you something free is offering you a life. It's a deception. It's a great stuff.
I'll take it on.
All right, so we have someone else on, Mr. Mary, Desmond Mary. Welcome on the live, sir. Are you hearing us?
Yeah. You hearing me?
Yeah, man, we're hearing you loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay.
So, you're on the live. So give us your view. Were you at the march last year, September 22?
Yeah. I was there in living colors, you know.
Yeah, give us.
I even got pepper spray from the police officer.
Or you were one of those that was pepper sprayed?
Yeah. I was there and I was talking that I got pepper sprayed but I didn't know that I could pursue a court case because I'm at the time him just asked me and him take my name and stuff like that. But when him called me back, him asked me if I did go. I'm gonna tell him so I never go. So it's like it does go. We never really pursue it because it was unlawful. It was a tragedy, you know.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So give us your take on the whole event last year. What were your feelings?
Trust me. Even though me I talk about it now, it's like me I relive it. I think at the worst time of my life. That was the worst time of my life. Me never know say we could have lived in our country based upon all the law enforcement are treat with and the government per se. You know, it just feel, trust me, me never know. Words can't even explain it right now. And it's like even now me I live right now, it's like me just still, it's like me still in our little place where Jamaica not real, my brother. It's not real right now because the only way Jamaica can become a real place, and only if the UIC become to power, you know.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else. And right now, a UIC right now, make me have little hope. And the only thing me have little hope right now, may I tell a man that. And for everybody on the live we are listening right now, Jamaica and a whole, if you want to see a true and free country, you have to support the UIC. I tell a man that.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, all hope's gone. May I talk right now, but may I tell us right now, you can it in my stomach, my brother. Too much unjust things. It hurt, man. It hurts, God no. It hurts.
And
really.
I believe there a lot of people are have the same emotions you're having. Enough is enough. We've been through this for far too long, and we've had sweet talk and promises and tricks, and it's still the same. Nothing has really changed over the last 78 years.
Nothing have changed, and what happened is like, because before me meet Mr. Patterson, I feel and I scroll through, and I think upon Facebook, I see the number and I put it in my WhatsApp. I don't know if Mr. Patterson did respond to me, or I think it was the march where they might have do a mandate, but I didn't go to that march in Mandeville, and Mr. Patterson asked me. But from there, it's like
from that moment that I meet Mr. Patterson on the line, it's like me just get a wake-up call, because all of my life, me always have a certain type of thinking. But what happened is like, based upon my thinking was out of the world. Sometimes I wonder if I think too much, you know? And it's like, from the moment I meet Mr. Patterson on the line, man. Mr. Patterson, I August born, you're born the 2nd, I'm born the 3rd.
Okay. Respect.
So it's like based upon all Mr. can relate to Mr. Patterson. I'm not fluently the spoke type person like Mr. Patterson. You understand? But the Racha patwa I get from me. Because
that's fine. That's fine.
I dropped out of school at 9th grade, so up was the street.
You're well educated, man. I've listened to you spoke a number of times in our group, and you're highly educated. You might not have the so-called, you see, some of the big problems we have in Jamaica, are the well-educated ones, eh? They're so educated they don't know anything but the colonial master's way, and they'll fight tooth and nail to keep it. And so hopefully we can help them to realize that the education they got, a big portion of it is actually a big misconception or deception. Yeah. So, but I want, if we can, to turn now to what we're going to do on the 22nd of this month. Yes. So on the 22nd of this month, we're heading out again, starting at the same place, Ward Theatre, and this time we're walking to Heroes Circle, and then to Emancipation Park, and then to Halfway Tree. But the funny thing is, we're not doing that to appeal to the government. We're appealing to the Jamaican people. Right. We're going to be walking on the 22nd to engage the Jamaican people, to say it's time for us to demand and give ourselves good governance now. We're not asking the JLP for good governance. We're not asking the PNP for good governance. We're not asking the Queen of England for good governance. We're not appealing to the Governor General for nothing. We, the people, are now ready and must be ready to take good governance. We, the people, must be prepared now to take control of our country. And so the goal on the 22nd, we're not even see Andrew. We don't even see Mark. On the 22nd, our goal is to speak to the Jamaican people and say the time has come now. Enough is enough. Time come now. We now must act. We cannot afford to wait a single day, another minute, another year, another month. We can't afford to wait now for those in our government to give us what we need, because they're not going to give it to us. Yeah? Their commitment is to keep the system the way it is for as long as possible. So we know that they're going to give us a fake republic. So the more we agitate for, because they've done this before, when our foreparents were slaves and we agitated for freedom, they gave us a fake freedom. They say, you're free now, but we want you to go into an apprenticeship program so you can learn how to be free. You remember that? And during this apprenticeship period, which was a joke, they simply extended slavery some more. And then when we agitated, they said, okay, now you're fully free, but no land and no education and no capital, but you're free. So you're free now to select your slave master again. Which one of them will you work for? And then we agitated some more. And then finally, in 1944, they said, okay, you can now vote. But before you vote, we are going to determine who the options are, and we're going to design the system around which you're going to vote, so that you will stop looking at us as the enemy and see each other as the enemy and start fighting each other as PNP and JLP. And they tested that for 18 years, from 1944 until 1962, and then they say, yes, man, you guys have learned how to perfectly fight each other kill each other, undermine each other, learn corruption, how to run a corrupt government system, just the way we want you to do it. So now you're ready to be independent. And then they gave us a fake constitution and a fake independence. And our leaders though continued from then right down to today to implement that bad governance document. And the more they implement it, is the more they destroy the Jamaican people. To the point now where we're on the brink of becoming tenants in our own country. Why? We're going to lose all our land. We're going to lose our economy. We're going to lose our beaches. We're going to lose all of our rights except to beg a job of the Chinese or the Indians or the Spaniards or whoever else will now run whatever industries are left in Jamaica. So step by step by step, they're doing exactly what Marcus Garvey warned us about. He says any leadership that leads you to depend on another race is a leadership that will lead you into slavery or that will enslave you. And so that's what Andrew and Mark and all of them before him, even if they don't even realize it, because they have been brainwashed, some of them. And what really happens is when you're in their position and you see the opportunity for making money that puts you ahead of your fellows, like some of these guys, they could never have earned money, the money they now have, by being an ordinary businessman. And that's why they're afraid of that kind of system. They could never have done like you, Mr. Myrie. Every day you get up, you have to go and compete out there with everybody else, fair and square, except that the big business have a hedge over you. But you have to go out there and fight for what you want. You have to go out there and make business for yourself, like any other small business owner. But they know that they can't do that. So the way they make money is through corruption. And so because of that, they will sell Jamaica to the highest bidder anytime. So if there's a so-called pandemic and they're promised millions and millions of dollars, if they push a particular agenda, they will sell us out immediately. They will stab all of us. They will lock down all of us. They will take away anything from us in order to get that money. And guess who's a part of it? The media houses. They want that ad revenue. So any lie that must be told to us, they want the money to tell us the lie. And so they're just waiting there for the money. Give me the 10 million, give me the 60 million so I can tell the Jamaican people the lie. They don't care if it's a lie. They don't care about being journalists. They don't care about investigative journalism. They don't care about finding truth and facts. All they care about is what must we do to get the next dollar from these people. They don't want to be engaged in normal economy, a true free market where you have to earn your bread, right? Not gain your bread through corruption. You have to earn your bread. They don't want that kind of market. They want a mixed economy where the government and big business and the colonial powers can collude to mislead, misinform, and misdirect people. Through that process, they will become, as long as they rig that process, they will do everything to protect that process. So you work with the will work with the TSO keep it, and they will be able to ensure that Jamaica never changes. And that's why you're going to hear the intellectuals telling you, oh, the UIC system can't work. What they're proposing to you does not make sense. We know what is better. The best thing for us to do is to continue to do what we've always been doing. Oh, we can change the titles. Let's call ourselves a republic now, but don't change anything. We'll say republic because it's the Queen and Governor General with the president, but the system of corruption will keep that in place just the same and just change the titles on it. So the UIC knows better. We know that they have no intention of freeing the Jamaican people. We, the people of Jamaica, are still slaves to this very day. You might just be a slave in a better condition. There are some people right now who are still living in conditions very similar to their parents when they were in slavery. I can take you downtown right now to some homes downtown Kingston, in the capital of Jamaica, where people are living maybe worse than how slaves used to live. I can carry you to a place now in St. Elizabeth here, where there are people living as bad or worse than how slaves used to live. Right now in this country, there are many Jamaicans right now who are living on the margin, on the edge. They're losing their minds.
Yeah.
Many who are young people, Rashid, they're losing their minds because they can't see how they're going to make life in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
A young man, a young woman, when they're coming out of high school and coming out of the age of college and university, they want to start a family. They want to see clearly how they'll be able to buy a house, feed their family properly, raise their children. They want to have hope. And right now, if you're a young person in this country, it's very likely that you have no hope. Your only hope is to leave the country. That's what most young people, how soon can I leave this country? And as long as that is the kind of country we have, you cannot tell me that we have good governance. A properly governed country is one that gives its people hope, one that gives its young people confidence that if they work hard, if they study hard, and if they apply themselves well, they have a greater chance than not to have a reasonable life in their own country. But every Jamaican knows that only a small minority, the connected few, will be able to attain certain standards. And that is problematic. I think I've said enough. So on September 22nd, 10 a.m., join me and some 5,000 others as we walk from Ward Theatre to Halfway Tree. And when I get there, by the way, I have a special announcement to make. I'm going to share a policy prescription that we the people, if we ever knew about this government is over. So on the 22nd, we're going to lay out for the Jamaican people what the government must do now in order for them to have a proper standard of living, a wage that is more than livable, a wage that is reasonable. And the UIC has a policy prescription for that, which I'm going to outline. You're going to wonder why we haven't done this all this time. And we're going to have the government now being on their back foot because they will have to explain to the Jamaican people, why is it something so simple, something so important, so basic that would protect police officers, nurses, teachers, and every worker across this country? Why has the government not done this for all these years? And they're causing us to suffer so hard. Well, the UIC will give them one more idea. They've been stealing our ideas, So we're going to give them one more idea now, and I hope they steal this one. They need to steal this one because this one is going to help the Jamaican people immediately.
If there is anyone to steal, this should be the one to steal, right? So comment in the
please
drop in the comments if you'll be there on September 22nd. We'd love to link up with you.
Personally,
yes, go ahead.
Well, personally for me, I would love to be there, but it all depends on the time because I got a tight school schedule.
Okay, you're at school now. You're at UTech?
No, Uncle, Calabar High.
Oh,
Calabar High
Calabar.
School.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that
How
you're in
old are you, Rashid? How old are you, Rashid?
I'm 14 going 15. I'm actually 14 going 15.
14 going 15. Wow.
You're quite a young man.
Great.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
And you've been a UIC supporter, I think, for the last, if my memory serves me right.
Wow.
That's great.
How did you find out about the UIC, Rashid?
I think I was just scrolling through and aside, and I did my research. I read up on everything, and that's it. All right, then. Even though my family strongly supports JLP, this is where I believe I should be because it is where my goals lie, and it is where I see myself in being. The JLP can keep their money that they give to us at year time to get us to try and buy votes, but I'll always be the UIC. I don't know why. There's just something strong and connective about being a member.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the same thing for me. When I first found out about the UIC, it was just like something that I've always wanted, but just never seen before. I was just like, where has this thing been all this time? This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted from a movement, political movement, This is where I want to see Jamaica go. You know, so that was my experience when I first found it.
For me, I'm glad there is a UIC because over the years, I am 48 years old. Over the years, I've never voted yet. Never, ever, ever. No P, no J. And it's not like I don't want to vote, but I don't see the reason to vote. Because I'm not going to know say you're a thief and I'm going to support you. You know?
Yeah.
There's no way. Absolutely. I would never do that. You understand? So when I say the UIC come, I just last year I'm going to look out a voter's ID, you know, because I never see the reason for take it out. Because I have a driver's license, I have a passport, I don't see no reason for the voter's ID. And last year I'm going to take out one. And the first time I'm going to ever vote. It's not no but no maybe. This is what I want. I see the reason to vote now. You understand? I wish me just sorry the fact that we not get more airplay, but the me run a taxi there, so every passenger me talk to me mention the UIC. It's like a driving radio in my taxi. You understand? Because every chance we get, my children, my wife, everybody in the house supposed to, them brain supposed to surround with the UIC right now. You understand? Because every chance me get, me try to bring it forward. Me share it on Facebook. Me share it on WhatsApp. Me talk. You understand? The most thing I do consistently is donate, and financial wise, that is the reason. But anytime I start doing it's a no stop thing. You understand? So anybody can see the reason for doing it and a donate start. You understand? No matter how small it is, just get on board and donate. You understand? Because that's the only way we can go far. You see what I deal with?
Yeah.
So I just appeal to Jamaica and just step forward, man. This are the time. This are the minute. This are the hour. Make we get on board, man. Every man. See that little young man, yeah? At the first me hear a little young man like this get involved. You know? Because him say me about how much you say? I don't want to misquote you, know. It's about 14. Huh?
14 going 15.
All right. You understand? So we need the young people them to get involved. Get involved, man. Because Jamaica is a rich country, you know, brother.
Yeah.
We country rich, you know. Poor leadership, I mess up, you know.
Yep.
I say this all the time. Yes. Poor leadership, I mess up, man. We country rich. Jamaica rich.
And Desmond, the thing is, you know, the poor leadership, you know, they're making themselves rich.
Right.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly.
The poor leadership, they are happy. They're happy with the way you know that it's poor leadership, but they are leaders. If you notice, a man will leave his lecturer position at UWI. He was a lecturer at UWI, and he will leave his lecturer position and go into politics, join one of the two parties, and suddenly all of him couldn't afford when he was a lecturer. All of him couldn't afford. Now him start to build a big house suddenly. Him start to drive a better car suddenly. Him start to send him children to private school suddenly. All of a sudden, you know, one of the MPs over here in St. Elizabeth, I followed his career. When he entered politics, he was a technician for at Appleton Estate at the sugar company. And by the time he left politics, he owned more land in St. Elizabeth than anybody else. While he joined politics as a technician, if he had stayed in that job, like never left the job, stayed as a technician, for the period of time, he would have, let's say he was smart and bright. I'm assuming he's bright. Let's say he would have probably rose up to the ranks and finally, let's say he become or general manager, right? By the time he got to that level, at the pay rate and scale, he would not have been able to afford all of what he left office with. He left office with lots of lands, many companies, hardware companies, heavy tractor, heavy duty equipment companies, and a huge pile of money over which family members could fight and argue. You follow me? You have a prime minister who we're roughly the same age. I'm 1 year older than him. And we went to school in the same area around the same time. And the prime minister, he left university and worked 1 year in a charity, and then 1 year as Mr. Seaga's assistant, and then he became an MP. So all of his work life was spent in politics. His entire work life was spent in politics. Okay? No time to build any massive wealth. But yet still, at his age, he is by far, far, far richer than anybody in his age group around that time, which is abnormal because the average Jamaican at his age cannot accumulate that amount of wealth. Why is it the average person can't do it? Why is it the brightest young men and women in this country who didn't go into politics, why couldn't they accomplish that? Not in politics. They're not in politics. They just went through the same process like me and him, got to school, pass CXCs, go to college, pass college, and come out and get a job. Why is it? It's only those who end up, for the most part, in politics who are at his age group able to amass that amount of wealth. And that is the story right across the board. If you want to get, if you want to get rich in this country, just join the GLP and PNP and succeed as a politician.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the way to get rich. It's not by you going to school, studying hard, applying yourself on the job, and rising up the ladder. No. And if you're going to make it as an entrepreneur, you can't make it at that level unless you're connected with them. Because you're not going to get the contracts, because half of Jamaica's GDP is controlled by the government, meaning all that money is spent in and around the government. So you need, based on how they've structured things, if you're going to make it, you need to be in position to get some of their contracts. That's the only way you're going to make it. Because if you're just an ordinary entrepreneur outside of their contractual circle and just trying to make it within the rest of the economy, the chances of you being any top tier entrepreneur is very, very remote. But if you get into their circle and you play the game the way they want you to play it, and you work with them and make sure you never join the UIC, never speak out against the system, never challenge their system, never tell people the truth about what's happening in their system, just remain hush-hush and play the game. And if you play it right, you will have a chance of a nice big house somewhere up on Beverly Hills or wherever, or in Cherry Gardens. You follow me?
Sorry to cut you, Mr. Patterson. These type of wealth I don't want, because my wealth is the wealth of the people, because what me that love is it's Jamaica and a whole. Jamaica and a whole, the people them. Sometimes it hurt me when I see people, man. Me I tell them, Mr. Patterson, and all who listen. It hurt to see how some people are living, brother. Me not rich, but me I survive. But at the end of the day, people just need to survive, and you see, even at the garrison, because he's a youth from a Waterhouse we come from. You understand? Youth, them a lot of youth around there. Them just want an opportunity. A lot of them just opportunity them, man. Them not really just want to turn to the gun. And this is what happened. You see, society, it make it look like the youth them are just gunman. And not just gunman.
Yeah.
Enough of the youth them not want that thing. Them not want that type of lifestyle. But what society does, is like it does push upon them, and some of them not so strong in them mental, So it's like them does gravitate to certain things.
Yes, man. When when you have a country where many of the children go to school without a proper breakfast in the morning, and when they go to school, they don't eat a proper lunch during the school day, and when they go home, they don't eat a proper dinner, already there's a 50% chance that they're going to fail because the brain is not being developed properly. And then when they go home, chances are they're living with a single mother, most of them. The father
Yeah.
isn't there. Most of
I
them.
was a single mother girl, yeah.
Me too. and chances are the single mother is working too hard to be able to help them with their schoolwork. She's always out trying to hustle to make a living. And even if she wanted to, chances are she herself was academically challenged. Okay? Chances are. So this child has no father, poor nutrition, a mother who is not available, and if she's available, not very helpful because she doesn't understand much of what he's showing her in his school book. Now, when he finishes high school, chances are he didn't pass maths or English or 5 subjects. Chances are he will not get a job in the first year after he leaves high school. So he'll be 1 year out of a job, then 2 years out of a job, then 3 years. By the time he gets to the 3rd year, he has almost forgotten everything that he has learned in school. Now he's in a different school. For the next 3 to 5 years, he's in a school now of the streets. Now, whoever controls the streets in his area will become his mentor and his teacher and his guide. Whoever is in charge, whoever is the more players in that environment, they will be who will appeal to him, who will get control of his mental faculties, who will guide him further. Chances are he's going to get a girl pregnant somewhere between the ages of 20 and 25. He's going to get a girl pregnant. Very likely she'll be younger than him by 2 to 3 to 4 years. Okay? He will now have a child which he's unable to take care of. Because he's a man, he's going to feel bad, but he's going to try to put on a macho front. So what he will do is distance himself and say, kind of leave her out there in the cold because he doesn't want to face the reality that he can't be a man, he can't be a real father for his child and his family. All of this starts to deteriorate his mind even further. He starts to look for avenues to express his manhood, to say, I am in charge, I'm in command. And the best way to do that is joining a gang, to say you belong to something. And then the gang will normally have initiation processes. So prove they belong in this by doing something. Whatever that something is, it's going to be something illegal and something violent by nature. If he does 1, he's more inclined to do 2. If he does 2, he's even more inclined to do 3. And then before long, he has completely lost his way and he earns a degree in criminology. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So his degree now is in how to be a criminal. How to, for example, it might be a small-time criminal, so he masters small-time break and entry. It might be drug-related, so he gets into that and masters. It might be scamming, lottery scamming, he gets into that. But one way or another, he's going to learn. Now, here's the funny thing. In all of these fields, he still has to learn to work for his bread. All of them. The work may be illicit. It may be stealing. It may be, well, normally stealing of different forms. But it's still work. He has to figure out when do we attack? How do we attack? What will be the strategy? Now, if that will happen, why don't we just create a youth employment program where we immediately move him from when he leaves school with his 2 subject or 1 subject or whatever it is, he moves into an apprenticeship program immediately in a company, whichever company, fire company, police, soldier, manufacturing, service sector, whatever it is, but get him in a company as an apprentice so he can learn in a different environment. Because he's going to learn, no matter where you put him, he's going to learn either crime or how to work in a business. So put him in a business and make him start to learn and get up every day. Give him enough money to be able to go every day, right? And have lunch every day and be able to be a part of the process every day. And what will happen? 9 out of 10, he's going to learn and adapt and become useful and productive gradually. in the process. You understand? That's what the UIC wants to do, because we know if you leave these young men out there and young women, pregnancy, criminality, and all kind of mischief will overtake them. And the little bit they learned in school, little bit, maybe they learned basically how to use the keyboard, that they went once a week and went to the computer lab, they know how to juke a few keys. 3 years out of school, all that is gone. Maybe they learned the basics of addition and subtraction. 3 years out of school, it is gone. They forget what algebra is, they forget what an equation is. If you move them quickly from that into the work environment and pair them up with people who are actively engaged in their work, you will save 75% of our young people from a life of crime, those who would have gone into crime. What do you say to?
I agree, Mr. Patterson. And our young people really, they're adaptable. You know, we seem to think that they can't adapt to situations, but they are very adaptable, and they're able to see their way through situations. And so if we put them in the right environment, then they'll be able to see their way through that, you know, and make a lot more themselves, and really steer away from the illicit activities, you know. But we have some questions. Do you before I get to the question, Mr. Mary or Mr. Downer, you have anything to add to what Mr. Patterson said?
Sure. I was actually waiting. I was waiting because the internet was in and out
Sure.
a while ago. Not sure why. But first, let me first just address something I wanted to say. One of the main reasons as to why I wanted to join the UIC would have been the fact of its governance structure. The way how it's fully formulated to, you know, enhance Jamaica into a better way. So from the president, from straight down to the VPs of the different counties, then you have the parish sheriffs. It will alternately allow the constituents and the members and the people of Jamaica to better their voices can better be heard per se. They have an opportunity, a platform to strengthen, themselves and ask for help where needed and due diligence. Moving along, we're talking about something a while ago about this apprenticeship program. Personally, as a young person myself, I think it is quite imperative that the government, let me restructure that. It is quite imperative that we, the soon coming government, the UIC, should implement ways to enhance and ensure that our young people do not go to different sorts of criminal endeavors, because right now in Jamaica, many of our young people are turning away from school, they start smoking, they start doing all sorts of stuff that is not what they're supposed to be doing per se, them picking up gun violence, gang related substance abuse and all of those stuff, getting girls pregnant and etc. So personally, I think more programs like the apprenticeship program that Mr. Patterson had talked about, it is quite imperative that it will help to enhance and better our economy and giving us young people a chance to better ourselves and start over, because not everybody are smart and get ones. But once you put them into an environment and they know that yes, sir, they can indeed, get the training and the proper what's the word? The training and the proper yes. Yeah. They can get to better themselves and become, top tier, as we young people will say. So I think personally, on my level as a young person, I think this is a step into the good governance. It's not bad governance. It is a step into good governance. And again, I don't think, as what Mr. Pastor was talking about to give each Jamaica a plot of land, as a past member was saying. Why should we, as persons who are going or soon to be government leaders and representatives, but yeah, and that's where I'm going. Why should we make false promises that we know that we cannot keep to the Jamaican people? I think this is now the time where us as Jamaicans, we need to think of it logically. Come on, them do it every single year. Why are we going to continue allowing them to do this and put us and just fool us again? Why don't we look for a body that is telling us, all right, then I cannot promise you this, but I can promise you that we will stand up for your rights. And that's what the UIC is doing. So yes, believe me, I am going to make it my top. Well, so I'll go make it a priority to be at the walk. Has to be. So that's all for me. Yeah.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot, Rashid. Mr. Mary, you had something to say?
Yeah, man. You see, what happened, me hear the famous Bob Marley say one day, my life is only important if me can help a lot of people. If my life is just for me, myself alone, I don't want it, Rasta. I don't want it. So, people we just need to come in and each one reach one. UIC, so the handshake there. It just show yourself togetherness. You understand? A unity. You understand? So people just get involved, man. No matter how simple the thing is. If I even share on Facebook, if I even share on WhatsApp, sometimes a man say him not have no money. And not just money alone you can do, brother.
Exactly.
You can share, you can do a lot of things you can do, brother.
Word of mouth. Word of mouth.
You can always just spread the words. Because you see, say, I know what CVM again. About 2-3 years, no, I think about 2 years now, I know what. I know what CVM, I know watch TVJ, I know read Glean, I know read the Star. You understand? Because they are not putting the truth forward. I see that, I see that. I don't want to lie. This is what I always tell my youth them. Speak the truth and speak it ever, brother. You understand? I don't like a liar, man. No, man, if you want me to like you, brother, just tell me a lie. No matter how simple it is, man, just tell me a lie, man, I'm going to cut you off. Because you don't have no reason for lie, brother. Where the reason is there for you to lie. That means to say you mistreat people then. Mislead the people. You understand? The only thing we want for some people, we just step forward, man. Step forward. See the chance, yeah, for real right now. 63% of the people that never vote. And it'll get more and more right now. Because I know so that's supposed to go on probably 73 or near 80 now. We just come on board, man, and just a landslide, man, and just change Jamaica, man. Change the country, man, the country to a rich fair go down the route. Yeah. The constant murdering and all of them, so it hurt, Rasta. It hurt, I tell you. And a whole heap of people are hurt right now. Trust me.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. Thanks again, Mr. Mary, for coming on.
UIC, you know?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And Rashid Dono as well. Looking forward to seeing you guys September 22nd. And hearing more from you as well, Rashid. I don't know if we have time to go into questions, Mr. Patterson.
We only have 2 minutes. Was there any key question, any very significant questions that we needed to answer?
I have some here. Well, here's a question. How will the, let me share it. How will the UIC re-establish the Jamaican people's faith in government after all the unlawful treatment, abuse, and blatant disregard handed down by the present administration?
It's a good question. Well, the UIC, if the UIC is elected, that will be the faith of the people. The only way the UIC can be elected is if the people have faith in what we're putting forward. And otherwise they won't, vote for us. And once they vote for the UIC and see the system of governance that we're putting in place, that will restore their faith in government. But we don't even want them to so much have faith in government. We want them to become aware of how to hold government accountable and to become aware of what good governance is and to become knowledgeable about good governance and to therefore never again to be fooled. So in our first year, it's the new constitution that comes into effect, making sure that we we get the people engaged, knowledgeable about the new constitution, and for them to embrace that as their true, real independence, real freedom. After all these years, when the UIC is elected and we all vote in a referendum for the new constitution, that will be our real independence. And we're going to look back at September 22nd, and probably that day will become our new Independence Day. So every September 22nd, we will celebrate our true independence, when we, the people, stood up for what we believed in, for truth, for honesty, for freedom, for liberty and justice. And so on this September 22nd, we're going to be commemorating what we did last year and what we're going to do every year. Every year, we're going to push this country closer and closer to good governance, and we'll settle for nothing less.
Yeah. Yes.
So good governance now. One Jamaica.
One Jamaica, guys.
Together.
Thanks for coming on. Yes. Thanks for coming on, and have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Take care. Thanks again, Mr. Harper. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good.